to Circuit TV, operating from East London. This afternoon, we are privileged once again to have lawyer Wisdom from Wisemart Solicitors in London. Today's topic is updates on new immigration rules. So this is the first of other series to follow. So every Saturday afternoon, we will have lawyer Wisdom to take us on the new immigration laws. There might be other topics coming up for lecture and discussions. There will be question and answer sessions at the end of the program. But every Saturday, do make a date to be with Circuit TV on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and other social media handles. So on the website, you will have our WhatsApp contact number for you to text your questions, or you can type straight on today's platform in case you have a question. So once again, it is my privilege to introduce to you Lawyer Wisdom. Please, when you're ready, you have your audience ready. So it is an hour-long session. So definitely our guests will make time for questions and answers at the tail end of the program. Thank you very much. You are muted. If you could unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Um, so we live, right?
Yeah, we're live, so ready to go.
All right then, thank you. Greetings to everyone. It's been a while.
Yeah,
I think it's been a while. COVID has caused a lot of harm to us. Um, yes, but thank God we are still here.
yeah,
Can I continue?
yeah. You can continue. Yeah,
All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you all for making time for this evening for us to share a few things together. It's been a while. I think it's over a year now, I guess, since we
that's right.
we had our last talk. So
That's
I
right.
generally give some updates as to what the legal position is right now, what the changes in the law are, and then if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to respond to those questions. So thank you all for coming, and I am very grateful to have you all online. Just
Thank
give
you.
me a second, and I will be with you.
All right, that's fine. So whilst we wait for the wisdom, just once again, this program will come on live every Saturday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. So it will be live. It will be live on Circuit TV. So okay,
All
if you
right.
are back, yeah, go on.
Thank you very much. Okay, so first of all, the updates. Now, in 2012, October, that is the 9th of September 2000, the 9th of July 2012, there was a massive change in the immigration rules in this country. That is when they changed the 14 years to 20 years, and they changed also the financial requirement. If anybody wants to bring their spouse from outside the UK, they changed all those requirements. Previously, all you have to do is to show that you have enough money to look after yourself and your partner, and then you will be fine to go. But from the 9th of July 2012, the laws changed. And what happened was they now made it mandatory to have a financial requirement of 18,600. That I believe we are all aware of. Now, if you don't earn financial requirement of 18,600, then you must have some savings. The savings is about if you don't work at all, you may have about 64,000 pounds or 62,000 pounds before you can bring your partner to the UK. And you must have that amount of money sitting in your account for at least 6 months before you can apply to bring your partner. Now, in addition to that, there were other changes. Now, what happened was the Home Office said they were going to create an environment which would be hostile so that people who don't have the right to be in the UK can pack their bags and go away. So they introduced something called the if you don't have the right to be in the UK with the visa, then you have to uh, and you have a driving license, then you have to return it to the DVLA so they can destroy it because you don't have the right to be in the UK and therefore you should not be driving in the country. Secondly, they brought in the requirement that if you do not have the right to be in the UK, you cannot rent a house or you cannot rent at all. So that became an issue. So landlords started checking to see if you have the right to be in the country before they will give their house or their room to you to rent. So that is still working. And the third draconian requirement they brought was that those who had bank accounts, who had current accounts, but did not have the right to be in the UK, the Home Office has that list of people who do not have the right to be in the country. Example, some people made applications to the Home Office. The applications were refused. They didn't leave the UK, and because of that, the Home Office has those lists. The Home Office they have the list of people who didn't leave the UK, and they have overstayed their visa. So the Home Office passed that list to the financial institutions to make sure that anybody who did not have the right to be in the UK but had a bank statement or had a current account, they were going to close their accounts. But they stopped that because the Home Office, by that instruction to the banks closed certain people's accounts that should not have been closed. Example, people who were these Jamaicans. I think you've heard of this Windrush thing. There were some Jamaicans who had lived in the UK. Their parents have been here. They gave birth to them here. They've lived in the UK all their lives. And so they regarded themselves as British citizens, although they did not have British passports. Some of those people opened accounts. And so the banks closed the accounts of some of those people, and it became a huge issue. So the government asked the banks to stop closing accounts. So that went quiet for a while. Now, the government, the Home Office, has started sharing the data with the financial institutions again. The Home Office has started sharing the data with the financial institutions again. That is to say, if you are in the UK and you do not have the right to be here, you do not have the right to be here, and you have a current account, the Home Office says your account should be, your name should be cross-checked with the banks. Once the banks confirm that you do not have, you have an account, and the Home Office also confirms that you do not have the right to be in the UK, the Home Office can then ask them to close your account, which means any amount of money you have in your account, which is your current account, and you don't have the right to be in the UK, the government is saying, or the Home Office is saying, they should close those accounts, or the Home Office may instruct that those accounts should be closed. That is, I'm sorry, my there's a bit of back and forth here. That is what the Home Office can instruct, that your account should be closed. So my advice is this: if you have an account, or you know somebody who has a current account, and they do not have the right to be in the UK, they should advise themselves. Do you want your money to be at the bank for them to close your account and your money is taken? You lose everything, or you would advise yourself by quickly maybe taking your money out of the account. Don't close the account, just leave probably enough in the account so that it is still active. Because if the government or the Home Office instructs that your account should be closed, it means that you may not have access to your money. Therefore, I would advise that everybody advise themselves as to whether you want to keep your money there. This is for only people who don't have the leave to be in the UK. If you have your visa, you don't have a problem. If you have sent your application to the Home Office for it to be decided and it has not been decided yet, you don't have a problem. If you have a case in court, you don't have a problem. If you have an application at the Home Office, there is no problem. But if you don't have anything at all, then that becomes an issue. And therefore, I would advise that if possible, you advise yourself as to whether you want to keep your money there or not. That is update number one. Update number two. Recently, the government opened the flood or the door or the way for people who have health and care workers. And I know a lot of people came here as health workers, and we are all aware that a lot of people came and they are here as health workers working in the NHS, some in the care homes. Now, it is still going on. Recently, the Home Office placed Ghana on the red list. Now, what it means is that countries on the red list means there are some countries, if you look at the number of doctors and nurses compared to the population of the country, they don't have enough doctors, nurses, and other healthcare workers to deal with the population or to handle the healthcare needs of the population. And because of that, there is this thing we call um, the World Health Organization data regarding the medical workers, the healthcare workers, and 10,000 of the population. So let's say 100 doctors and nurses for 10,000 people in the country. 100 doctors and nurses for 10,000 people in the country. That is just an example I'm giving. But in these countries, where in some countries, they don't have 100 doctors and nurses to 10,000 of the population. Maybe they have only 50 doctors and nurses to 10,000 of the population. And Ghana happens to be one of them. So the Home Office placed Ghana, Nigeria, and about 50 other countries on the red list, which means that there should not be any active recruitment from those countries by the recruiting agencies. So they cannot recruit people from those countries to come and work in the health sector here. That is only for the recruiting agencies. However, if there is a care home manager, director, owner who think that they need somebody one-on-one, they can still bring people to the UK. It is only the health care recruiting agencies that cannot recruit people to bring them to the UK. But individual employers can still bring people to the UK. So that is that. Very important. It is still ongoing. The other one is that just a few weeks ago, the government has announced that there is shortage in the construction industry, construction workers. That is to say, carpenters, roof tilers, masons, bricklayers, let's say plumbers, electricians. There's a shortage of these people in the construction industry in the UK. And because of that, the government has now added the construction industry workers to the shortage occupation list, which means that if there's a person in the country who is a construction worker or they have a construction firm and they can register with the Home Office that they want to employ people, once they get a sponsorship license, they are able to recruit people from outside the UK to come to work here. But they need to register with the Home Office, get the sponsorship license before they can recruit from outside the UK to come and work here. So let me emphasize that again. If there is anybody here working in the construction industry and they have a firm, they have registered their company or their business, and they think that they need people to work for them. Maybe they have a subcontract from a bigger contractor, and you need people to work for you as dry liners, as carpenters, as bricklayers, as tilers, as roof tilers, etc., etc. Then you have to register with the Home Office, get a sponsorship license, and once you have that, you are able to recruit from Ghana and anywhere else to come and work for you here in the UK. So that is what the position is right now. So construction workers have also been added to the list of sponsored employers, but you need an employer to come and work for you. Need an employer to apply for you before you can come and work here in the construction industry. So that is number two update I thought is of importance to bring to you. Number three update is that the Home Office have changed certain requirements for people in the country. Example, when people who apply for British passport or British citizenship. Now, if you had a British passport and you also have a Ghanaian passport, assuming that your British passport, the name in it is Abdullah Muhammad, and in your British passport you have Abdullah Mumin Muhammad, and you want to go and renew your passport, they want the name in your Ghanaian passport should be the same name as in your British passport. So when you apply, they will ask you, do you have the national passport of another country? If you say yes, they will ask you to bring that passport as well. Now, when you sign it, or if you sign it, and the names are different, they will not renew your British passport for you until you change the name in your other passport to be the same as the name in your British passport. And that you have to do by deed pool or change of name deed before they will issue you a new British passport that has the same name as the name you have in your Ghanaian passport. So that is what is happening. They don't want people to have two different passports with different names. So you can have a passport with Abdul Mumin Mohammed in the Ghana passport and have only Abdul Mumin in your British passport. If it is Abdul Mumin Mohammed in the Ghana passport, the same must be in the British passport as well. You can't have different names in the different passports. So if you know of anybody who is renewing their passport or yourself and they've asked you for that passport, it is because they want every name to be the same. Update number 4 is that the UK is changing from cards, from biometric cards to something we call e-visas, electronic visas. So you will have a leave to be in the UK, but you would not have any document to hold to show that you have a visa or you have a leave in the UK. Everything becomes electronic. Everything becomes electronic. Now, I have a lot of decisions here right now where they have all been granted. All these people have been granted their leave. Every single one of them have been granted. However, the dates of all these people that have been granted their leave, everyone's own is ending on the 31st of December 2024. Each of them is ending on the same day, 31st of December 2024. That does not mean that your leave is expiring on that day. No. If you look on the decision letter, it can say that your visa is valid up to November 2025, but the cards are ending on 31st of December 2024. Because they are phasing out all the cards, you have visa to be in the UK, but you don't have to hold anything to prove, so that nobody can use another person's thing to work in the country. Now, if you want to travel, how do you prove that you have the right to be in the UK? There is something we now call share code. When you go online, you enter, it will generate a share code for you. With that share code, you will be able to produce that to the travel agents or the travel lines, and that will show that you have the right to work in the UK. You have the right to live in the UK and to work in the UK. So they will use that deadline to determine your right to be here, to go out and to come in. So very soon, from the 31st of December 2024, nobody is going to be having a card unless the Home Office changes um, their process, because they are working towards it, so that by 31st of December 2024, nobody will have a card, but you'll be able to work, you'll be able to travel in and out without any difficulties at all. So that is the next update. The next one is that if you have to apply for your indefinite leave to remain, or you have to apply for your British citizenship, some people are finding it very difficult to write the life in the UK test. Because, of course, not all of us have been to school, not all of us can read, not all of us can write. And therefore, some of our elderly, our parents, our mothers, our brothers, our sisters, our daddies are having it difficult to write the life in the UK test. That is what we call the KOLL, Knowledge of Life and Language in the UK. Now, if you cannot write the language of life and knowledge in the UK test, then you either need a medical report. There's a form called KOLL waiver. That form, you take it to your doctor or your consultant, and they will complete the form. And on that form, they will say that you will not be able to write it because of your medical condition, not because you haven't been to school, but because of your medical condition. And the doctor will have to state what the medical condition is, or what the medical conditions are. Then on that basis, we can use that to apply for a waiver for you, so you don't have to write the life in the UK and the English language test level B1. With that, you will be able to go for your indefinite and again for your British citizenship without having to write the life in the UK or the English language test level B1. Now, if the doctors or your doctor or your GP does not give you that, then it means that you can't apply for a waiver. And if you can't apply for a waiver, the law is that you have to wait for up to you are 65 years old. If you are 65 years old, you don't have to write the test or the life in the UK test or the English level B1 test if you are 65 years old. But if you are not 65 years, you need a medical exemption. If you don't have a medical exemption, then I'm afraid you have to wait until you are 65 years old. But if you don't write and pass and you have 2.5 years, it means you have to be doing every 2.5 years, 2.5 years, 2.5 years, 2.5 years, forever. And every time you do it, they will take your money before they give you another 2.5 years. They will take at least £2,608 every 2.5 years from you. How much money are you making? How much money are you able to save for you to be paying them £2,608 every 2.5 years? So the best way out is, if you are not close to, if you are not very close to the 65-year threshold, then you must as well do whatever you can to write the test and pass. Otherwise, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5 until thy kingdom come. And you don't want to be wasting money that way. So I would advise, if you can, it's better to start now, to start, especially the life in the UK test. There is no expiry date. So when you pass it once, you keep it for life. So please, if there is no pressure on you, take your time, learn it, you'll be able to pass. But if you wait until it is too close to the time, then there's a lot of pressure on you, and that is where you can make mistakes and ultimately get it wrong. So please, that is just an update and a caution for everybody who might be listening to me, because you have to pass it. If you can't pass it, medical exemption. If you don't have medical exemption, 65 years, you have to wait before you can get your life in the UK, before you can get your indefinite leave to remain. Pardon me. The other update is that the Home Office, I believe I've said it before, they have changed the threshold. Now, Before recently, before too long, if you are in the UK and you are between 0 to 18 years, you have to be in the UK for 7 years, and then you can apply for 2.5 years, 2.5 years, 2.5 years, 2.5 years, total of 10 years. But the Home Office has changed it now. You don't need 10 years. If you're under 18, you only need 5 years. You do 2.5 and 2.5, and you go for your indefinite. 2.5, 2.5, you go for your indefinite. If you are between 18 to 25, you also do 2.5 and 2.5, you go for your indefinite. If you are still under 25 by the time you do the 2.5 twice. If you are above 25 years, you do 4 times 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, a total of 10 years. So the young people have been given freedom. They can do only 2.5, 2.5 twice, 5 years. We call them the young adults. You go for your indefinite. But if you are more than 25 years, you have to do 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, a total of 10 years before you do your, or before you go for your life, your, what do you call it? Your British citizenship or your indefinite leave to remain. So that is another update I want us all to be fully aware of. Another very important thing I want us to be aware of now is that very, very important because it's causing a lot of problems now. A lot of people who travel, especially EU nationals who have family and they are traveling back to the UK, the family members are being subjected to serious scrutiny at the airports these days. They stop them, they question them, they grill them, they want to get information from them. Now, if your information is not consistent with whatever information you have on the documents you use for your application, you will be detained. If you are detained, they may end up revoking your residence card or your EU settlement scheme. They can revoke it because they will say it is based on deception, marriage of inconvenience. Somebody will say, marriage of inconvenience, that's what somebody will say, but it's actually called marriage of convenience. That is what the law actually says. Now, if after questioning you, they establish that the marriage is not genuine, they will say it is a marriage of convenience, and they can revoke and cancel your leave to enter the UK, especially the EU nationals, especially the EU nationals and their family members. So please, let's all be fully conscious of what is going on around us. Recently, there was somebody who was coming from Ghana. She got the 5 years, and once she got the 5 years, this is what she told me. She said, "Me de mi casa mi nya no eno ane no," but that is not the case. So she went to Ghana. On her way back, they stopped her at Heathrow Airport, and they asked her so many questions. What is your husband's middle name? Middle name. She said she didn't know her husband's middle name. You didn't go to Ghana for the marriage. She said, no. So who represented you? She said, my uncle. What is your uncle's name? She said, I don't remember my uncle's name. They asked her, what is your husband's representative's name? She said she didn't remember the husband representative's name. Where is your husband working? Oh, I can't remember. Is your husband in the UK? She said, no, my husband is in Germany. Does he live in the UK and travel to Germany? She said, no, he lives in Germany. Now, clearly, that tells the Home Office immigration worker that this is not a genuine relationship straight away. So they revoked a 5 years EU settlement scheme. Now it goes to court and it has to be challenged. You have made life very difficult for yourself. Whereas knowing this basic information about your spouse would have made life very easy, now it's become so complicated, and the lawyers will take our money, your money, will take you to court. The stress, the depression, the mental health problem that will bring upon yourself just because you did not do your due diligence properly, having the information about your genuine husband or about your genuine wife. So please, let's be mindful of this. And also, when people get to the airport and they ask them questions, I have seen somebody who had questions and answers on their paper. Questions and answers. husband's name, this, husband's date of birth, this, husband's children, address. Now, if I happen to be an immigration officer and I see you holding questions and answers, obviously I will say it's not a genuine marriage. And if you, probably listening to me, happen to be an immigration officer and you stop somebody at the airport and you ask them questions and they pull out questions and answers to give you the answers about their husband and their wife, straight away you would also say that this is not a genuine relationship. So please, this is what is causing a lot of problem for people and for our brothers and sisters. Can we please do certain things and do them right so that we don't have to have these problems across board when we are traveling in and out? Students, a lot of students or some students have come to the UK this year and the year gone, but some of them were not able to go to school as they should have, maybe because of financial constraints. So when they got here, things became tough and they couldn't really carry on with the course. Now, the question is, how can somebody in that category switch from being a student onto another category? Are there ways for them to switch? Yes, the update is that it is possible for them to switch from one place to another, but you need to seek detailed legal advice, not the 5 minutes, 10 minutes one we do on this TV. We need a proper, thorough, detailed, and real soul searching advice to switch from one category to another. So that is also something we need to take care of. The care workers who have also come, the complaint we are getting is because some of them did not have any skill or training in the care industry at all, they have come and they are causing a lot of blunders in or at the workplaces. Recently, there was someone who grabbed a patient by the trouser because the patient or the client was trying to be a bit rough. I think the client has some mental health issues. They should know how to handle these people. She did not handle the client well, and therefore she was dismissed instantly. She just came from Ghana. She came from Ghana 2 weeks in the workplace, and she was dismissed straight away. Your record goes down the drain. So if anybody listening to me, or you know anybody who is working in the care industry, in the care sector, and they haven't got the right training, my advice is, even if you have to pay a private person to train you, a private company to train you how to handle this care, vulnerable people, please do that so that you can retain your job, so that you don't lose your job or you're not dismissed, so that it becomes more difficult for you to work in another sector. Because once you are dismissed, you can be put on the adult barring list, adult barred list, and forever you might not be able to work with adults, vulnerable adults, for maybe 10 years or more. So I have been asked to tell my people to be careful, especially those who are working in the care industry and don't have the right training. Please, if you can, get yourself a private training how to handle this situation so that you don't end up getting into trouble. Another update is that detention of children at the airport. There was a recent decision. Now, the Home Office says birth certificates from Ghana are not reliable. Birth certificates from Ghana, and they were specific. They mentioned Ghana, not any other country, but Ghana. Birth certificates from Ghana are not reliable because somebody who is called James can go for a birth certificate today. The next day, he goes to Koforidua and gets another birth certificate called Anthony. The following day, he goes to another place and gets another birth certificate and is called Jonathan. The next day, he goes to another place and gets another birth certificate called Andrew. Different dates of birth, different names for the same person. And because of that, the U.S. State Department said and gave a warning to all people that Ghanaian birth certificates that are obtained after 1 year of the child's birth are not reliable. And because of that, the Home Office has picked it up and saying that if children are coming to the UK, they want to be sure that the birth parent is the person who they claim to be their birth parent. Not that somebody has gone to put a name on somebody else's child to bring them to this country and it becomes a problem. So children are being stopped, children are being questioned, children are being interrogated at the airport unless there is additional proof, maybe a DNA to confirm that these are the children of this person or this is the child of that person. So children are also being stopped and possibly being held at the airport for a very long time before they are released. So please let us please be mindful of this. We have a report from the UK border officers, independent child trafficking guardians and international immigration report. I will say it again. Report from the UK border officers, independent child trafficking guardians and international immigration report, which says that there is a huge number of applicants from Ghana. They use birth certificates which cannot be relied on. So, Ghana is becoming notorious for using documents which are not reliable, and it is affecting all of us. So, I will plead that the right thing should be done. The birth certificate should be obtained from the right sources so that when they are used, we don't have any problems here. So, generally, there are other things to talk about, but I think we have less than 10 minutes to go, or I can add a little more time. I can add a little more time if that will be fine. I don't
I
mind
think,
adding a
I
few
think
more.
we can take some few questions and then then
Please carry on this. Thank you so
you
much.
you're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. This is really very enlightening. And then I've got a few questions here for you. I think the first question has to do with the new rule with regards to foreign recruitment for
Yeah,
the construction industry.
yeah.
Is there any criteria? Because we understand with regards to the health aspect, there were three key criteria in terms of English language, tuberculosis, and I think with some few other requirements. So what are the requirements in this regard?
The construction industry is more flexible. There is no fixed educational qualification required. So that is more flexible. It's more about showing the skill. So if the person has a certificate, they don't want a PhD, they don't want an HD, let's say a diploma or HND. They just want the skill to prove that the person is able to perform the task. So theirs is more flexible. The English language requirement is not strictly there. The last time I checked, it doesn't say that they need to meet the IELT, etc., etc. So theirs is a lot more relaxed than the health and care worker category requirement.
All right, thank you very much. Just a follow up. Can the recruitment take place in country? For example, someone within the country without right to leave, and the construction agency is willing to employ such a person. Can he or she be sponsored?
Unfortunately, they cannot. Once you overstay your visa, you are deemed as not in the country. You are considered as though you are not in, although physically you are in the country, you are considered as though you are not in the country. So once your visa is expired, you cannot move to another category. You can only move to the categories of marriage if there's a child involved, a stepfather, parent, and those other categories. But healthcare, the construction industry, students, and other categories, you can't move if your visa is expired. You cannot be sponsored into those sectors. You can't, unfortunately.
All right, thank you very much. So there's another question with regards to the application for dependents under the age of 18 and those over the age of 25, where they
Yeah.
will go for successive 2.5 years renewals. So within that period, will they have recourse to public fund?
Right. So yes, you mean under 18 and under 25? No,
Yes.
they have no recourse to public funds. As long as you are on the limited leave to remain, you cannot get benefit. But if there is the need for you to access benefit, then we have to do change of condition application for you. and they would want to see your bank statement, 6 months bank statement, 6 months pay slips, and your other supporting documents. Based on that, then we can argue that, look, this person is not in the best of state to work, and even if they are working, they don't have enough money to sponsor themselves, and therefore, can you take off that no recourse so that they can access some benefit? So that is a different application. But whilst you're on the two and a half, until you get your indefinite, and unless you apply for the the change of condition, they cannot access the public funds.
All right, thank you very much. Just another question on the
Yes.
Ghanaian birth certificate that has raised a lot of questions recently, as you mentioned. We all know Ghana government is trying to digitize some of these processes, so biometrics have been introduced. Will that help improve our credibility in terms of possession of the birth certificates?
Yes, thank you so much. That will help and will help a lot. But the problem we are also having is before you even go for the new one with the digital, watermark on it, they want you to present your old birth certificate. That is, if you have the old one. And what is happening is the serial number on the old one should be repeated on the new one. But what I've noticed is they don't repeat the same serial numbers, and the Home Office is picking it up that if you took the old one to them to issue a new one, why are the serial numbers different? So these people are looking for every opportunity to pick up errors. So we must also ensure that we do things the right way. But in the long run, I'm sure in the future, as things progress, the fact that Ghana is issuing the digital or the new birth certificates will help, because as soon as a child is born, they are registered within 1 year. As soon as they are born, registered within 1 year, and that gradually will phase out the problem we are having right now. Once the birth certificate was obtained within 1 year of the child's birth, no problem. So let's say the child was born in January 2021 and the child was registered before January 2022. That is within 12 months. No problem. The problems only arise if the birth certificate was obtained after 1 year. That is where the problems are arising. So I am sure we are telling it out. We are informing people that once the child is born, please register the child within 1 year. I hope very few, I hope few people are doing it, or some people are doing it very soon, and few years to come, we would not have this same problem we are having now, provided the births are registered within 1 year. The problems may be people who were born maybe outside in maybe the countryside, who don't were not born in the hospitals or in the clinics for them to get the birth certificate. If that is the case, they will still have the same problem. But those who are born in the cities, the towns where they have access to the health facilities, I'm sure gradually by issuing this new birth certificate, we will very soon get over this problem that we're having right now. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, thank you very much. So one last question before you do the rest and then do the summary. There's a question here with regards to those who have been sponsored into the country through the health worker scheme.
Yeah.
Some people say it is said that if your agency is unable to provide you with a consistent job for at least 2 weeks, they are duty bound to report back to the home office that they have been unable to employ you, just to keep the, I don't know why that, and if you're not able to do that, what would be the repercussions?
Well, I mean, before the Home Office issues the the license, the sponsorship license to any employer, there are criteria they have to satisfy. That is to say, the registration of the company, the accounts, and everything they have to be met. And then when it is issued, they have requirements that they have to comply with as well. Now, if it is a requirement, I haven't seen any of those strict requirements where you have to inform the Home Office if the person is not employed or not given a job for 2 months, 2 weeks or so. I haven't seen that one. But if that is what it is, then it means they are duty bound to report to the Home Office. Now, if they don't, and the Home Office conducts, let's say, a random check, and they find out that this person hasn't worked for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe if they are not on holiday and they haven't worked for some time, there is no evidence of time sheet being kept, clock in, clock out, then that means the employer is in breach of their conditions, and that can affect their license being retained or revoked. Recently, I've had two instances where the company's license was revoked, and all the people that they brought to the country were now looking for other places to go to. So I would always say, yes, even if there's not a lot of hours, at least a few hours here and there in the day would be good enough to retain the person. And also, the law allows them that even if you're not getting enough hours from your first sponsor, you are able to do additional work in the same category of your sponsorship. So if the person is a care worker, they are able to work with another care provider. If they are carpenter, they have to work with another carpenters. If they are construction workers, they have to be in the same construction field. So with that, you can do extra job to make up with your actual sponsor. But if it is totally no work at all, then that becomes very dangerous. It can affect the sponsorship license, and possibly it can affect the leave to remain for the employee as well. But this is a problem we are having these days. So many people are here, no work, 2 months, 3 months, and some are not getting any work to do at all. And out of frustration, some of them are reporting to the Home Office. The clients themselves are calling the Home Office. This person did X, Y, Z before I came, and I'm here. They are not giving me work, and it is affecting other people's, sponsorship licenses. So please, this is where we are. We have to do things and do it the right way so that it doesn't create problems for all of us.
All right, this leads me to the final question. Is what is the end goal when you come under the health care sponsorship at the end of the third year or the fifth year? There's no clarity as to whether you're allowed to go for an extension or we may end up having another win rush again. I don't know.
We will the provision for tier two workers, that is the tier two skilled workers, skilled labor, either as electricians, as technicians, as hospital workers, as let's say hospitality workers, as IT technicians, etc. Anybody who comes under the tier two workforce, they are supposed to be here for 5 years. So either 3 years and 2 years, making it 5 years, or 2 years and 3 years, making it 5 years. Once you remain on the sponsorship for 5 years, you have to go for your indefinite leave to remain. That is what the provision is. 2 years plus 3 years is equal to 5 years, then indefinite leave. Or 3 years plus 2 years is equal to 5 years, then indefinite leave to remain. After that, you wait for 1 year, you go for your British citizenship. So that is what it is right now.
All right, thank you very much. So probably that's end of the questions. I'll let you do the closing summary and then wrap up. As we promised our listeners is 7 to 8, so probably extension might not be helpful on our
That
first
might be
day.
helpful. That's right. So maybe next time we start at 7 to 8, and that's it.
That's
That's
right.
it.
That's right.
Thank you. Okay, I'm very grateful for all who are watching and all who are listening. It's just today is just the updates of things that are happening in the immigration system in this country. So I've talked about the health and care. I've talked about the bank accounts closures. If you have a current account, I've talked about the students, and I've talked about the construction workers, which is something new. I've talked about the birth certificate issues we are having with our country. I've also talked about the detentions that are taking place at the airports these
Yeah.
days.
Also, just if you could add your contact details and maybe a few contact details on the
All
screen
right.
for the screen. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So yeah, so on the screen, maybe okay, I'll just pick it up and then you can give it out for you can add it to the details, please. So yes, so next time we meet, I hope God willing, next week I will take one topic and then we'll deal with it. And if there are additional questions, I'll respond to it. I'll look at Asylum. Applying for asylum in the UK, is it worth it at all? And on what grounds can a person apply for asylum? I may look at the 20 years long residence. Is it still working? Yes. If it is, how do we tackle that? And how do you get it quick? Yes. I may look at the 2.5 years limited leave to remain. How are you able to switch from the 10 years to the 5 years? I may look at, that is, as the weeks go along, I will look at students, tier 4. How can you come to the UK? What is the financial requirements? Can you bring your student dependents? I may look at other areas. People who are on 2.5 years, can they marry? If they marry, can their spouse also get their stay? People say you can't. I say you can, because we do it and we do it every time. And the rules are here. We use the law, and that is the law we are using. And I think I showed you the cards and the decisions that I have. You have 2.5 years, you can marry, you can get your 2.5 years, your spouse can also get based on you and your child and your family can get it. So as time goes on and as the weeks progress, anytime we are able to come on, I will be able to update you. Thank you so much. It's Wisemart Solicitors. Wisemart Solicitors. My name is Wisdom. You can call me Wisdom. It's just enough for me. And our telephone number is, the office number is 0208 0165 384. 0208 0165 384. That's the number again, 0208 0165 384. Our office address is number 18 to 22 Ashwin Street, 8 to 9 The Print House, Dalston, London, E8 3DL. The telephone number is what I gave, 0208 0165 384. 0208 0165 384. We are just at the Dalston Junction, close to the Dalston Market, directly behind the McDonald's. That is where we are. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all, and I'm very, very grateful. God willing, next week when we meet, I will be able to give you some more information. Mr.
All
Host,
right.
thank you so
That's
much.
it. Thanks so much for your time. So do make time with us next week, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Thank you.
Mr. Wisdom will be with us again. Thank you very much and have a lovely evening, everyone. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.